Here we go, guys. As you can see, I lost some video, so here we are. I had recently just pulled out the V8, and you can see that sitting right here over where I first started. And then I used the donor, just kind of long block of the 3.4 that I had sitting around so that I could place that in and see just how it was going to fit. So here we are.
What's up, everybody? So as you just saw, I was a lot faster getting that V6 in there. Fits so much better. There is so much more room for activities. I'm loving it. So here we go. Check it out. There's plenty of room. We're going to be able to run the fan and the radiator and everything. We've got plenty of room back here. So I'm just going to run a traditional 3/4 swap crossover so that it'll come out on this side so that we don't have any interference over there. I'm super excited. Let's see. What else? The motor mounts almost line like right up on the frame rails. I need to grab the other side and make sure that that one fits as well, because for some reason I don't have it on this block. But once I get those on, I'll be able to set it in place. I'm going to take the bell housing off of that transmission right over there. We'll go ahead and pull this off from right there, and then we'll set it up under there. Make sure that there's plenty of room for everything. Make sure that it's going to clear right here in our tunnel. It may need to come down just a little bit. I'm not sure. But either way, if it does, oh man, we have so much room. I'm really comfortable with that. So that's super cool. We're going to have plenty of room for our steering. Here's our exhaust way up there. So it'll come out through here. We'll mount our box. Steering box, and then the drag link will come right through here, so there's plenty of clearance for that. I will probably have to get a T100 two-wheel drive T100 oil pan and pickup, just because the axle is going to be like right there, and that's right where the sump is. So probably have to spend a little bit of money on that. I'll go ahead and get that ordered so that we have it, and that's where we are. So I've got this temporary block that I have just set up in place just because I had it here, and it'll be easy to mock everything up. And then we'll go ahead and get the motor mounts set in place, weld it up on the frame, get the frame all cleaned up and everything. And once this is set in place, then I can start putting the transmission, the wiring, all of the electronics, everything. So we can really start fastening things together. I'm hoping that I can get the motor mounts put in the next couple days so that we could really start progressing on this thing. So we'll see how it goes. Keep in touch. We'll see you then. Later, guys. What's up, everybody? Well, I've been pretty productive. Haven't really been able to show you guys that much. I'm sure you don't want to see me sitting around scratching my head trying to figure things out, but I think I've got things almost ready to dial in, and let's go ahead and take a look and see what you guys think. All right, so the V6, I had the temporary one that's just the block, and we got everything set up and mocked in there to make sure that it would fit, and there was plenty of room for activities. So that's where I was like, all right, here we go, we're doing this. So I have a fully dressed 3/4 in here now. It's basically just sitting and resting on the frame rails on the motor mounts at the moment, but it's pretty much where it needs to be. Starting from the back passenger side, we're going to need to do a little bit of trimming here on this line for the clutch master cylinder to get that back. I'm going to have to modify the exhaust flange a little bit. I'm going to have to cut the weld here so that this pipe can come over a little bit closer to the transmission and give us just a little bit more clearance in between the frame rail right there and the transmission. So I'm just going to cut that real quick and do that. I've already done it on the other side, so it's movable and ready to go. Let's see, what else? We do have the AC compressor in. This is the 3.4 AC compressor, so there's plenty of room there for the belt. I will have to cut that existing ear off for the old sway bar, so I'll cut that off, and then there should be plenty of room for that. Our lines will be right here. We'll have plenty of room. They'll come up and route over this way, so that'll be perfect. Let's see, coming up into the front, we have a good bit of clearance on our fan and the radiator. I'm able to remove the fan with the radiator in place, so that's cool. I don't have any issues there, so we can just take that out and slip that back in. It's not like it's gonna have to have the radiator removed to be able to pull that, so that's perfect. So that kind of gives us a pretty good indication that we're somewhat in the same area of distance in between the radiator and the front of the motor here, so it's kind of where it needs to be, I guess. Next, we've got our alternator. We got plenty of room here. Don't have any issues there. That's going to be perfect. Back over here, let's take a look from under here. So this is real close. I currently have a Tacoma bell housing mocked up in place, and the master cylinder is on the driver's side on these for the clutch, but we're going to be utilizing a T100, and we're gonna modify everything to either a T100 or an older 4Runner, depending on what we have to have it on the passenger side, so that we have a little bit more room, because we've got steering, we've got exhaust, and we don't need to have that right there too. So I've already cut the flange and the exhaust so that once we have the transmission in there, I can move this to where it needs to be, put a nice little tack on it, and then bring it out and weld it up so that it's in its new home. As of right now, I'm gonna have to do a little bit of trimming. It doesn't interfere, although I'd like to clearance it just a little bit for any movement of the engine rocking and stuff, just under load or whatever. So I'm gonna do some clearancing there, but we've got our steering shaft about ready to go. With our box coming out to over here, we're not gonna have any issues with clearance, and I'm hoping that I don't even have to trim the fender well, the inner fender well. So that would be super cool. What else? We will have to get the T100, the two-wheel drive T100 oil pan, so that we have a little bit more clearance for our front axle. But that's basically where we are as of right now. I'm gonna have plenty of room to run a newer booster and master cylinder, brake master cylinder and brake booster. Go ahead and mock in that newer stuff so we have a little bit better braking abilities. And we are next going to try to figure out if I'll be able to utilize one of the condensers from one of the trucks that I have out there. If not, I'm going to go ahead and purchase a universal AC condenser and lines so that I can use the existing air conditioning system that the truck originally came with. They had custom lines made that you just screw together, plug in and clamp together, excuse me. And we've got that system on my little Hilux, and it worked great. So I'm confident that we'll just go ahead and do that. That'll make it super easy to where I can do it and I don't even have to worry about having any lines made or anything like that. So that'll work out perfect. We'll just tie into the existing stuff at the actual box and get rid of all the old lines and go from there. So super excited. At this point, it's motor mount time. So I'm going to try to figure out what we're going to do and what the best way to get these motor mounts in place and fabbed up so that we can call that mounted, then we can go ahead and do our transmission, get our tranny set up, bolted in place, and then start making a tranny mount. Once I have those two things in, then of course I can go ahead and get on the wiring. I could put the bell housing on and use the starter that way and get it to start without the whole transmission in place, but I really want to put the tranny in place and make sure that all the shifters and everything are going to end up in the right spot. I do have this motor set forward a little bit farther from the firewall than like a factory motor would be, so I have a feeling that I'm probably about 2 or 3 inches away from the existing hole in the floor for the shifter, so I'll probably have to do some modifications to the shifter and the floor. Definitely for the 4-wheel drive shifter, but for the gear shift, we'll see what we have to do there. I'm not worried about having to modify it too much. That'll be cool with me. I just want to make sure that everything fits well and is going to work well. Mainly steering, exhaust, and the fitment of everything around all of that stuff. And I can pretty much say that where it is right now, I'm comfortable with everything, and I feel that if I can get the motor mounts made to where it sits exactly where it does right now, we should be good to go. And then we can start plumbing everything, putting in a fuel injected tank with the pump, put an inline filter on it, bring all the lines up to the front here to the motor. Then we're gonna have to figure out what fuse block we're gonna run, whether I just want to make my own fuse block with some relays for like the fuel pump and the starter and all of that stuff, or if we want to take an existing box from one of the donor trucks and tap into that and rewire that. I don't know yet. I think that would probably be the cleanest, so that's maybe what I'm gonna do. But let's get it bolted in place and mocked up and all that, or mock-up done and bolted in place rather, and then we'll get into that whole mess. And then I want to bring the axle over too, so that we can see what kind of clearance we have for that and start with the steering box and start getting that going. So let's see if we can't get this motor bolted in place today, get these motor mounts solidified and put in there so we can continue on. But looking good, super excited. We'll see you guys later. What up, everybody? All right, getting some progress done on the Chinook today. Yesterday we tackled the motor side of the motor mounts. This is the driver side right here. As you can see, we went ahead and used the existing mounts, just hole sawed them so that I could fit this pipe sleeve in there with my bushings. And on the passenger side, here we go. That's all done and in there. We got our bushings all set in place. I just need to slide the sleeves in there, and they are ready to be mounted onto the block once this paint is dry. Let's see, next we started taking off the intake manifold, and we are going to start cleaning up all of the wiring for the battery and everything. That's all right there. That's for the battery and the starter. So we're going to strip that all down, clean that all up, put it back into the plastic harness so that it'll go back up under the motor real nice and good. Hoping to get the motor mounts finalized today and welded into place onto the frame so that this motor is actually sitting on its own, hanging free and doing its own thing. We have started a little bit on some plumbing and some items. There was a fuel feed and return line. However, the feed line is way too small for the 4-cylinder, well, from the 4-cylinder. So we're going to remove that one and go ahead and replace it with a larger diameter for the fuel. We'll reuse the existing return, or we may actually use the feed as the return because I think it's a little bit bigger. We'll figure that out once we get down there. I'm hoping to bring the gas tank over today and get that set, kind of figure out where we're going to put that. That'll be the next hurdle after the transmission, I think. But things are looking good. The exhausts are on. We're going to have to cut this side so that I can get it to rotate inward towards the transmission bell housing a little bit. so that it clears that frame rail just a little bit more. As you can see, it's almost right up on that fuel line right there. So we're gonna go ahead and cut that and move that over. The starter fits in there perfect, snug as a bug in a rug, with about a hand's width of clearance in between the starter and the frame, so that'll be perfect. Started putting the ground on. We are gonna upgrade the master cylinder and the booster, so I'll go ahead and pull that out as well. I already started kind of making our lines and things for this. The next thing I'm gonna have to figure out is the heater core. The existing heater core is a little bit smaller diameter than what our new hoses are that are going into the motor, so I'll have to figure out something there. But a lot of good progress. Like I said, today I'd really like to have those motor mounts fastened up and everything finished on that end so that it is hanging on its own, and then start just all the plumbing and all the wiring and a lot of cleanup. I'm not gonna paint it. I'm not gonna paint the engine compartment. I'm not gonna paint the motor. I'm not gonna paint the frame. I'm going to leave this as it is. The whole thing about this truck is aesthetically on the outside, I want it to still, I know it's gonna be lifted, but I still want it to look like it was just rescued out of the junkyard, like I did, you know? Put a motor in it, put an axle under it, and here we are. That's what I want it to look like. I don't want it to look like a complete revamp. I don't want it to look as though I redid the entire thing, because that's not what we're looking for on this. We want something that's going to be usable, something that I'm not afraid to take out and have fun with, because I know for myself, and if I make it nice, it's not going to go out and it's not going to be used for its intended purpose. And then what's the whole point of this, right? So it's going to be four-wheel drive, it's going to be a V6, and it's going to be fun. And that's the most important thing. So let me get back to it. I got a lot of work to do, but I'm super looking forward to that fun part. And we're getting closer and closer every day. So I'm glad you guys are staying with me. Unfortunately, had to do some work on this beast. Yeah, that's a whole nother story. But yeah, that's what's kind of pulled me away from the Chinook for a little bit. But I'll be getting the rest of the parts for this thing today. Hopefully be able to get the beast fixed and fastened up so that we can go and new adventures or something. I don't know. We don't have any trucks to pick up. We've got all of our donor vehicles for this project. So we just need to get it back up and running and out of the way of all of my workspace. So let's see how far we make it today, and we'll catch up a little bit later. Watch me work. Later, guys. What's up, everybody? Hope you're having a great Friday. It's been a pretty good one out here. Got some progress done. I was able to get the motor mounts all made and tacked in place. Yes, the tacks look horrible. Something's going on with my welder, and I was getting attacked by mosquitoes. So those will get all cleaned up. But the good thing is that it is hanging in there on its own. So we've officially mounted the 3.4 into the Chinook camper, and we are going to continue progressing forward. Next, I'm going to start with the transmission. I need to go get the 88 4Runner out from over there that the donor is going to be coming out of, because we're going to need the master cylinder to come out on the passenger side for the clutch and the fork. Because that's where it has the most room. The T100 and the Tacomas that I have, they're all driver's side master cylinders, bell housings. So I'm going to have to pull that other transmission out and put that one in there just to keep everything together. So I'm going to pull that one out, get that all ready, and hopefully be able to bolt the transmission up and get that into its forever home so that we can start making motor mounts, tranny mounts, and get that solidified and have the whole drivetrain, basic motor and transmission at least, in its place, so that we can start on solid axle swap, and of course rear drive shaft, all the cross member that needs to be done, all that good stuff that comes along with it. But it's been a really good day. As you can tell, I'm rambling. It's hot. And yeah, it's been a lot of work getting to this point, I'm going to tell you that much. But it's been a lot of fun along the way, and couldn't think of anything better to be doing right now than this. So we're going to keep plugging away at it and see what, how far I can't get. And I'm really anxious to start on the wiring once we get to the wiring part, because once I get the transmission in, I'd really like to I think what I'm going to do, scratch the transmission. We're going to do the fuel feed line and the gas tank first. We're going to put those in first. Then we'll do the transmission and transfer case. This way we already have our lines run and we know all of that stuff, and then we can fab up our cross member so that everything that needs to be plumbed is already plumbed. So glad you guys were here to help me think that one through, because that would have been little bass backwards there. So yeah, now we're going to start on fuel tank and fuel lines. Once we get those in, then we'll start on the tranny, then we'll do the cross member. Then once we have all that solidified, then I want to get the wiring done. Once I get the wiring and the fuel pump in there, the tank, with everything in it'll be an in-tank fuel pump from a newer Tacoma or the T100, whichever fits in there best. But once the tank and I can get to the wiring, once I get that wiring done, then that means it can start. And once it can start, then that means that it's like there's nothing holding me back. So I need to do the solid axle real quick, and then take it up to Dad's and have him help me with the interior of the camper. So I know that sounds quick. It doesn't sound like that much work, but it is, but it's not. So we'll just take it day by day, and I'll keep you guys informed along the way. And thanks for joining me. Later, guys. What up, everybody? Happy Monday. Hope y'all had a great weekend. I know we did. We went up to the lake and had a good time. Me and the fam. It was a lot of fun. And now we're back on the camper. So I went ahead and got it up to kind of where we're going to be at typical, ideal, whatever ride height, we hope. And I know it's a little bit farther in the back, sagging a little bit. We're going to bring that up a little bit here in just a minute. But I had to run inside real quick to grab the camera to show you guys what's up. Today we're working on replacing the tank so that we could go ahead and put the newer tank from a 98 Tacoma into this. And we're going to plumb the feed line and all of the wiring up to the front so that we have all of that and can start plugging all of that stuff in. Once we get the tank in, then we're going to go ahead and move on to the tranny and transfer case. So hopefully we'll get a lot done today. I already started removing the filler neck, and we're going to go ahead and rip out this carbureted tank. It looks like it's a rather large tank, so hopefully our other tank should just bolt right up because they look to be about the same size. I'll go ahead and break out the measuring instruments and make sure that things will fit. If not, it wouldn't be too hard to just modify how this bracket right here mounts back here on the frame. We can move that pretty much anywhere we need. We'll use the front as a stationary so that we know that that's basically where it needs to be. It has this little cradle and everything. And then the only other issue that we may have is this tank is from the driver's side, and we're going to put it on the passenger side. So what I'm thinking is that we may just have to make some type of loop so that we can have the filler neck come in on the same side still. So we will just have to see how that works. But as we go, we'll figure that out. I'll show you guys what we decide to do, and I'll keep you guys updated. We'll see you then. What's up, everybody? Well, we're under the Nookie, and we finally got everything out. I removed the tank. I removed the both sides had the e-brake cable, so I had to remove that so I could get the rear axle out, which is where I am. Rear axle's over there now. It's all out. We are ready to start doing some cleaning and start putting some things in place, hopefully. I still need to take apart the donor truck. That's next. So we'll take apart the donor and start doing some cleaning here. I've already got some really good parts that we started pulling off of the 4Runner there. We got a nice MagnaFlow exhaust with like 2.5. It's either 2 1/4 or 2.5. I think it's 2.5. So that'll be cool. So we'll only have to have the exhaust shop connect from the motor up under the transmission to right by the front leaf spring hanger. So that should be minimal exhaust, so exhaust work, so it shouldn't be too expensive, hopefully. And we're getting there. I also found a crossover for the power steering. I don't know if I'll be able to make that work, or we'll go ahead and just use it as a template, but for now we've got that. We also one-way check valve for the brake booster. We got the overflow tank, so we'll go ahead and fab that in here. We'll go ahead and just use the original bracket, reorientate it, and we'll put it right in there. And then our wiring will come up right next to it, real nice and sweet, next right here with the battery. So that'll be all nice and smooth looking. Super excited. So we'll go ahead and start pulling the shifters off. And I've already got the rear drive shaft out. Cut the exhaust, as you can see. Let's see, once we get the tranny mounts, tranny mounts, tranny support, motor mounts, transmission bolts. Holy cow, I'm all over the place today. We'll get those, get the tranny out, transmission bolts, starter, all that stuff, get it dropped, get everything clean, and start mocking things up into the truck. This is where it starts to get fun and exciting. As you guys have seen, pretty much everything I've wanted to do got in there and then was like, nope, it's not going to happen. So there's a lot of just figuring out as you go. I mean, pretty much that's all I'm really doing right now. I had a plan with the V8, that didn't work, so now we're going V6, so that changed a lot of stuff. But we'll see how it goes. I mean, I have a lot of faith, so we'll keep plugging away at it, get this thing stripped down, and we've got a nice clean slate over there, and it's getting there, guys. It's getting there. I'll tell you what, once we get the transmission in, that's going to be a major hurdle. because then I can go ahead and pull the motor out, weld up the motor mounts that we made, and then put it back in and like actually like solidify the drivetrain and say, all right, it's in, it's ready to start, get the wiring going, getting close. So just a little update. Here we are. Kind of like the height there. That's a pretty cool height. If I could keep that, that would be about ideal. Unfortunately, I think it's going to be a bit taller though. So we'll see. We will see. I'd like to run like 31s on it. So I don't want it to be too big, but I'm super excited. See you guys later.